My parents got me a PlayStation for Christmas. And
you're 35 years old. They just got you a PlayStation?
Go along with the analogy, damn it. My parents just got me a PlayStation for Christmas. But in September, or in August in this case, they said, hey, why don't you just give it a spin for like an hour? And then you're like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And then they put it back in the box. You're not allowed to open it up until Christmas.
Maybe they didn't want you. They thought you'd play with it for too long. You go blind.
It's mean-spirited is what it is.
Right?
It's mean-spirited.
They didn't want you to go blind.
You can't let me see the PlayStation and play with the games and then put it back in the box until December.
I don't want you to get tired of playing the game like a month in.
Dan Wiederer writes for the Tribune. He joins us every week here on ESPN.
He's usually the wet blanket guy, but I think he's all for it.
Dan, how was the PlayStation on Saturday?
So let's get something out of the way here that I tried to get out of the way over the weekend on Twitter as well. I know I have this reputation as being a pump the brakes guy, and you just said a wet blanket guy.
But I think, wait a second. I don't want that to be a negative connotation because I personally think what you are is the common sense guy.
Thank you. That's a much better way to phrase it than the wet blanket guy.
Common sense guy, same thing in my world.
Because what I said over the weekend is typically I only tell people to pump the brakes when they're headed for a gnarly wreck, right? And the car's about to crash over the cliff and into the ravine. And so right now, there's no reason to pump the brakes. I said open the sunroof and put it on cruise control and enjoy this ride right now because everything that you want to see from Justin Fields at this stage of his development is being seen. And so it's exciting. It's promising. The energy is being felt inside the building at Hallis Hall. And on Saturday, it was palpable inside of Soldier Field. And it was really cool to be a part of that, to see that there's a player there that can elevate that energy on the sideline, in the building, and really just change an afternoon for you with his talents. And I could talk to you guys a ton about that drive coming out of the half and the number of plays that Justin made. He just made plays, right? And the contrast of what we've seen playing the quarterback position for the duration of my time on the beat, it hasn't been that. It hasn't been a guy, the one that, to me, that is the most impressive is the 3rd and 9 dump off to Rodney Adams when he vacates the pocket, gets out to his right, calmly and casually baits the defender up, drops it off. It's a first down. In years past, Mitch runs out of bounds or there's a bad throw and you end up punting. The frustration smothers the building and it's just this agitation that you can't get rid of. Instead, you convert 3rd and 9. A couple plays later, you get loose on a scramble. You score a touchdown. The entire building comes alive. And now you say, okay, this is what the difference that a franchise quarterback who has this level of talent can make for you.
Yeah, it's funny, Dan. We had this discussion a little bit earlier as well. And look, I know it's going to get old for me comparing Justin to Mitch. It really is. But like that's kind of the mode we're in right now because, the Mitchell Trubisky experience is still fresh on our brain. It was 2017 and you draft Justin Fields because Mitch didn't work out. And I said to Adam and Chris and Deshaun, I was like, look, Mitch can make that scramble touchdown run. He did it against the Patriots. Mitch can make that throw to Jesse James for that touchdown. That's a well-designed play that's executed by everyone else. The difference that your eyes tell you is that Justin Fields on the edge is a guy that uses the defense aggression against them. He knows when to bait you to come to him. He knows when to bait you to feather off. And he's a guy that looks like he's played the position coming out of the womb. That, to me, is the greatest difference. And I think it's the best way to describe it to anybody that wants to say, hey, why is this going to be different? The numbers are the same. Mitch had 106 quarterback rating in the preseason of 2017 with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. The numbers are the same. It's the visuals that lead you down an entirely different path.
Yeah, so this is a really good point, Tommy, and I looked this up over the weekend. August 11th, 2019 was when I wrote the much maligned at the time article about how Mitch was not passing the eye test at training camp, right? And that was our first warning sign. The eye test was saying, this doesn't look right. The eye test right now is telling you this looks exactly how it should look, right? And so one thing that I'm telling everyone that asks, trust me, I had texts on my phone from Saturday from friends, relatives, outside people are emailing me at my work account. And the one thing I'm telling everybody is that the fireworks shows with Justin are going to be far more frequent and they're going to be far more spectacular than they ever with Mitch. And guess what? Mitch is coming to the building on Saturday, this weekend. And so you're going to have a couple quarters on Saturday where you see these things side by side, right? And so it's going to be an absolute contrast in the way these guys play the position and what they're capable of. I think the downside of that is something you just mentioned, that you only have Justin because Mitch didn't work out, right? And so Mitch not working out cost you 2 to 3 seasons of Super Bowl ready defense, right? And now you have to get him ready to try to get ready to play at a championship level while you still have guys on the other side of the ball that are ready to play at a championship level. That's the challenge the Bears are facing. It's their current reality, but at least they have this opportunity with a guy who listen, I think Fields' comfort level is the one thing that is undeniable right now. Yeah. In every single thing that he does, he just seems very comfortable, and that's a very positive sign.
Dan, is there anything that we didn't see that you saw at the game, whether it's Fields on the sidelines, Fields talking to Nagy, going through the plays, something that you noticed that we didn't see on TV that makes him even more special, especially from something that Nagy was concerned about, like understanding the play calls, getting them out, that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing that jumps out to that question is the touchdown run, right? And we all know what happened there. And the Jesse James gets tripped up on a corner route, and he's got to come off his progression and escape a little bit of trouble in the pocket. But as soon as he escapes that trouble in the pocket and starts to vacate to his left, from the press box view, Justin Fields is at the 18-yard line, and you already know it's a touchdown, right? And this is one of those things where you're just like, oh, that's a touchdown. The guy's at the 18-yard line with a ton of ground to cover and defenders coming at him. But the way he runs, it's just so effortless and he just glides, and you just knew that there was going to be nobody to close ground on him. And if they did close ground on him, they weren't going to be able to, get around the move that he had. And what a luxury that is for a coaching staff to understand, okay, we called the play. It didn't work because the tight end tripped. And now all of a sudden we've got a quarterback that can just quickly turn that into a touchdown anyway, right? And like that's something special from above. To your question about sort of the huddle mechanics, look, there were some bumps early on, right? They took 2 false start penalties back to back, in part because Justin was a little bit slow in the huddle of spitting the play out and getting guys up to the line of scrimmage and getting everything aligned. Those are things that have to be worked on. Those are things that in these next 2 preseason games you kind of got to get ironed out and get him to be better in a lot of different ways. And so there was a lot of special things that happened Saturday. There were also things that told you, yeah, this is still a rookie quarterback, right, who when the degree of difficulty goes up is going to face some real bumps in the road. And so we have to be ready for those as well.
We've talked about all of the really good things, and there were a couple of other things too, Dan. Like if you watch him early on from the pocket, there are a couple of throws he makes on his back foot that we would have been killing Mitch for. One was a seam route to the tight end that was tipped by the safety that should have been picked off by the cornerback. Another was a deep ball that was thrown off his back foot, I believe to Wims, that floated out of bounds. Like those are the things that, like John DeFilippo has to say in film sessions, look, Justin, plant your foot, push it downfield. You did it at college. You could do it here. And working from between the tackles, I would assume, is where they're going to focus most going forward with him, Dan, because when he does get the call, teams are going to game plan for him and try their best to not let him outside the tackle box.
No question about it. And the other thing is, he told us a couple weeks ago that he's still scarred from that hit he took in the Clemson game back in January, and that he's got to learn how to slide or get out of bounds and not take those hits. And what does he do in the first half? He gets out and he runs right into a defender and tries to do a spin move, and he takes a hit that wasn't a vicious hit but could have been worse, and the ball pops loose, and you've got ball security issues, you've got lack of awareness in that situation. That has to improve. That's got to be better. He's going to have to play from the pocket and be a lot smoother back there. And he's going to have opportunities to do so, and he's going to come against defenses that are disguising coverages and sending exotic pressures and making him be on his P's and Q's before the snap in terms of having guys aligned properly and knowing where his protections are. All of those things are growing pains that we're going to see in real time when he finally gets the nod to go play in regular season action as the starter. But for right now, at least you're offsetting those with these dazzling moments that energize your entire team, right? And that's one thing that has become plainly apparent to me these last few weeks, is that, and I said this over the weekend, and I don't want to overstate this, but I think there is a parallel in terms of when Khalil Mack got here and started making plays in practice, and then took it right out to the field in the opener against the Packers. And all of a sudden there was this feeling like, oh my God, this dude is legit. And the way that sort of breeds this infectious confidence and that urge of others to make plays and match that level of play, it's similar right now. I'm not saying it's reached that level, but it's similar right now because there's this confidence and trust in who this guy is as a playmaker.